So we have seen that anything which is very great, it has its limitation as well. So far in this series GHCP playlist or playlist GHCP, I have covered these 5 videos where we have discussed what is GitHub Copilot, what are some great things, right? Especially this video where we have discussed all the various capabilities that are there in GitHub Copilot, right? And so it has all these capabilities, like it can review code, explain code, generate, optimize, document and fix bugs, right? So in this video we'll see that what are the limitations of it, right? AI is good, but there are certain things which we should be aware about it, right? So let's begin. So far we have covered this, what support, how it works, right? All of this like code capabilities. In this, let's focus on what are the limitations that GitHub Copilot comes up with. So the first limitation is that amount of tokens that we can send, right? Like you must have seen in ChatGPT that there is a text box and you can pass a limited text. If you pass more than that, then it gives an error that it cannot accommodate, right? Because it can take certain number of tokens, right? Let's say you have a very big repo, it has 500 files, right? So it cannot take all of it. So that is a limitation, and for some things it takes 8,000 tokens as well, right? But that is also not enough. It's like 500 lines of code, or let's say 1,000 lines of code, right? So that is a limitation, and this is an important thing, and many things will come from this, like in exam. So Copilot and clearly says on their side that they are not replacing humans, right? So they are replacing some capabilities, some part of it. Like for example, like earlier I used to use Google only for the search, right? Now along with Google I use ChatGPT. So it's not that Google is completely removed from my tools of list, right? But for many things I prefer ChatGPT or Copilot to get that information, right? Because it gives in a better way, but does not means that it is replacing Google, right? So humans have so many capabilities, right? So it is just a tool which is to assist you, right? Another thing is that GitHub Copilot is only related to coding and technology, right? So only these kind of questions specific for coding, you'll get answers, right? So if you'll ask who's the Prime Minister of India and things which are unrelated to coding, it might not be able to answer you because it is not designed for that. So that is also another limitation, right? Also too much dependency by dev on this, right? So sometimes we become lethargic, right? Okay, I said that, okay, fix this code and it fixed it, right? Which can cause a problem also, right? Because we'll come to the next part which will highlight this. So code quality can be an issue, right? So it is like both the ways, right? It can be good, it can be bad as well, because the code that is generated by GitHub Copilot may not be the best, right? Why it's not the best? Because it might give you a working code, but it is not readable. Or let's say it has given you use some link you and something very hard, right? Which people are not using in common, right? So there could be a readability or maintainability issues. Yes, you can fix it, but you should know those things, right? That these are the limitations. Don't blindly trust the code, right? So it will follow the design patterns if there are in your code, or if you'll explicitly ask, otherwise it might not, right? Also another thing is that the code may be syntactically right? So the similar points are there. I think this is a duplicate where, but it's not maintainable, right? People don't understand it, right? Also the code given might not be optimized, right? It might not be the best code. It is the code, but it is not the best code. For example, like in college we have read that, okay, there was a subject called as ADA, right? Or DA, some people used to call. So there, for sorting, there are 9 algorithms, right? So each one have a different complexity, right? If you remember log n log n square, right? Bubble sort, radix sort, quick sort, heap sort, all of that, right? So if you ask for a sorting algorithm, it might give you, but maybe in your case, you need one which is having n log n, right? Or it might give you which is n square, which is not a good complexity, right? So you have to know all of these things, then only you can make the best use of it, right? Now comes the So the code that it can give you, you have to check for security vulnerabilities, right? You still have to run your code scan and all, right? So it does not guarantee you that, okay, it is the best quality code. It could be insecure as well, right? Also, it does the formatting many a times looking at your own code, right? So let's say I wrote some wrong statements. Like in my first example, I showed you that I wrote a print statement opening Chrome browser, right? I might have written something maybe similar as well, right? And that might not be good, but the test it created, it copy that formatting, right? I might be having like, okay, I'm on line number this. So then it will try to generate the code looking at that. That might not be the best code, right? So if there is a bad code, it can make it even look better by adding more similar stuff to it, right? Also, it has the context limitation, right? It does not know all of the stuff that you know. For example, this again coming to this point, real-time collaboration, where it says that, okay, let's say there is a project discussion, right? And that is not yet in your code, right? You know that that might not be a priority, or it might not have to be done in that way, but in the documentation, it is yet to be updated, right? So those kind of things GitHub Copilot does not know, right? So this is the most important thing, right? So you should have a solid foundation in coding, right? Because it can give you a lot of suggestions, but that suggestion might not be right, right? Just like you Google something, you find an information. If you blindly use it, if you blindly copy the Stack Overflow solutions, right? That's not the best case. So similar is the thing with GitHub Copilot as well, right? You need solid foundation in coding to understand that it is giving you a good quality code, it is secure, it is following the design pattern, whatever you need, right? It is performance optimized, right? Because you can use to create code today, but when it goes in production, it might not give you the best results, right? One last thing that is there is testing and debugging, right? It gives you the code, but that code might not be right, right? So whenever you open ChatGPT or Copilot, this says that this software can have mistakes, right? Somebody should review it, right? So there is no guarantee that it is correct and working. It is code, right? Most of the cases it works, right? But still you should check it out because there are chances that it might not work. So these are some of the limitations. Let's quickly see them once again. Right, so there are limited tokens. It's not designed to replace humans, right? People can become lethargic, just too much dependent on it with and not doing review as well, right? Code quality, it can generate insecure, not optimized, not as per the performance needs that you have, right? Also, it generate codes looking at your code. So garbage in, garbage out can happen here, right? There are context limitation. You should be good in coding to make the best use of it, right? And testing and debugging is there, that you cannot debug the code that it generates before usage, right? So you have to accommodate that code. You should test it, right? And it is not here to replace humans, and real-time collaboration is missing in this, right? So these are some of the limitations. Did I miss any? Do let me know. In case I missed any, do let me know, and do subscribe to my channel, like which is this, and you can do follow this playlist GHCP, right? And let me know your feedback. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to my channel.